If you were worried that you would never know what it would look like if Animal Crossing forgot to be cute, worry not, for I have found that game. I'm going to show you two images and I want you to tell me the difference between the two. Here's one. Here's two. One is a still image from the upcoming horror film Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. The other is a character from the game we're talking about today, Hokko Life. The difference is that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey is supposed to be terrifying, whereas Hokko Life does it on accident. I forget where I saw it, but someone pointed out that it looks like people inside of animal skin suits, and I can't unsee it. Today, we're reviewing Hokko Life. It's meant to be modeled after games like Animal Crossing, where you build up a town and basically become the mayor without any of the pay or healthcare or really any benefits, actually. I am so conflicted on this game. I will admit this at the start. I was fully prepared to shit all over it, but then I was made aware of the fact that one person made this entire thing. And that does mean I have to temper expectations, because for one person, this is impressive. That being said, it still has its problems. A lot of problems. I mean, the game is trying to be Animal Crossing and it isn't cute. That should be illegal. And also, how much credit do you give someone if they made a castle of cow shit by themselves? Is it still impressive they did it solo even though it's a castle made of poo? I don't know if it's worth buying and playing in its current state, but you can make that decision for yourself. I'm not absolutely sure, and this is not a real review. Hokko Life started off pretty promising for me, and the one thing I think absolutely needs a nod in this game is the music. Listen to this. The opening is actually pretty cinematic and brought me right back to those old Animal Crossing games, but the premise of Hokko Life is a bit wishy-washy, and the story that follows that premise is... It's there. Money does not exist in this game. There is no rent, no food, no electricity, no debt, no nothing. Once a house is built, it is that person's to own forever, or until you evict them because their clothes are ugly. It's very odd because essentially every animal that moves into town has a conversation before they do that where they quit their job in order to move there. How do you afford to live here? There are no jobs in town, and any handyman work the player takes care of. How do you afford food, rent, anything? This might seem like a nitpick, but it's really not. It's sort of problematic because even in Animal Crossing, a game that is directly marketed to children and teenagers, they're like, hey, you owe a metric shit ton of Nook bucks, bucko, pay up. And there really isn't any mention of it here. The economy is favors mostly, and otherwise any money in this game is just you buying things from the one shop in town. The inn owner that is essentially a mafioso of some sort, the way she convinces everyone to do shit for her, just kind of guilts you into moving in and becoming the errand boy for the town. You have to buy the houses and the decorations and clean up the entire place and run the local farm and keep the weeds out of town. Where is the state funding for this shit? Why is it my job? Jokes aside, there is usually a premise in Animal Crossing that you get a job of some sort. Either you become mayor or you are island representative. In this game, you just do things because, well, what else are you gonna do? Now, the characters are all extremely robotic. The dialogue feels like it was written by an AI, and the animals laugh a lot about nothing. Seriously, they laugh all the time at absolutely nothing, and it's really unsettling. Everyone is way too happy. They're like, it's Tuesday, and I just want to say, fuck off. Oh, no. It's like the Truman Show. Everyone is self-aware that they're in a game and supposed to be happy, so they have to be happy, and Uma just has a fucking shotgun behind the counter like, smile. Suffice it to say, the animals in this game are just a bit off-putting. Now, as I see it, there are two major things aside from a massive list of little things holding this game back. First is it's just not cute. Animal Crossing does as well as it does largely because people will sell toe pics on the internet in order to get the cutest villagers to move into their town. This game does not have that same level of cute. The animations are wonky, and as I already said, the animals just look creepy as all hell. The second thing is that everything takes way too long to unlock. Only 0.1 0.5% of players have even met the guy that teaches you how to fish. A really, really basic and core part of the game. I didn't even get storage until 4 hours into my playthrough, meaning I had 20 slots in my backpack for every item in the game and was just using the floor in my house as storage in the meantime. 20 slots is just not enough for a game where you're supposed to pick everything up, especially at the start of it when you don't know what's valuable and what isn't. It's worth mentioning that the tutorials that unlock all of the in-game features also take way too long to finish. I played close to 5 hours in this game, about a month's worth of in-game days, before I stopped, and I had just unlocked the farm at that point. It's really hard to tell what is and is not an essential quest to unlocking things, and some of it is just be in this time on this day after having done X, Y, and Z, which would be fine, but the game doesn't tell you that. But don't take my word for it. I think the fact that there's a fucking 30-minute video just on how to unlock farming says more than I ever could to justify my point. The sad part is that all the quests are relatively easy too, but finding them is not, and there is zero distinction between quests that will unlock something and run-of-the-mill errands for villagers. You also have to talk to every villager for every stage of quests, which gets really tedious really quickly. For one quest, I had to build 2 benches. I made them and placed them, and when I went to turn it in, the guy went, "Hey, you build those benches yet?" As far as the game was concerned, I had to accept the quest, go build the benches, go back to talk to him, and then go place the benches, then go back to talk to him again, and it would finally be finished. Mind you, the NPCs all move around in this game, so you have to hunt for them each time you want to progress a quest, unless they're in their house. I ended up just making 2 more benches and then deconstructing them, and I realized I could have picked up the benches, talked to him again, and then replaced them, but that seemed like too much work. It might seem like a small thing, but even having to talk to that quest giver in the middle of the quest really adds to the tedium of this game. Now, I've done a lot of dumping on Hokko Life, but let's talk about some of the positives. I previously mentioned it, but it's worth saying again, the music in this game slaps. Also worth mentioning is some small quality of life stuff. For example, cutting down trees. In Animal Crossing, when you cut down a tree, you have to mash the pickup button and pick up each individual piece that came off the tree. In Hokko Life, you just walk over stuff and it picks it up. Weird thing to praise, but it's actually kind of nice. Now, the biggest thing I can praise is the item creation system in-game. You can create literally anything you want with the item creation tool and then have it in the world. You can also download stuff just like the outfit pattern shop in Animal Crossing New Horizons, except this takes it one step further. You can create furniture and basically anything if you can make it look like it within the design system. And then if you give out your creator code on the Steam forums for the game, anyone can take that design and have it for themselves. I downloaded a Nintendo Switch station in my game. Now, sadly, like the Nintendo predecessor of this feature, it's too hard to find new stuff. If there was a global marketplace of sorts where you could just scroll popular items, that would be great, but there's only inputting a creator code that you know prior, or you take a train into town to check out the 6 or so items that the devs have on display for the community. This has the potential to be a really cool feature if it's more accessible. I'm not sure how hard it is to make stuff like that happen on the back end, but it could go a long way. That's kind of all I have for the positives though. There are other really minor things, but a lot of this game feels like a hollow shell of what it's trying to emulate. Hokko Life is to Animal Crossing what the dollar store brand is to Nilla wafers. It might look like Nilla wafers, smell like Nilla wafers, even sound like Nilla wafers when you rattle the box, but it just doesn't taste right. There's a level of polish that comes expected with a game you purchase from Nintendo that I think rather obviously is not here. I mean, Todd Howard should just work for Nintendo instead of Bethesda, because at least at Nintendo, he wouldn't be lying.
And one of the great things about having a fully dynamic game engine is all of this just works. It's not, I'm not kidding.
If anything else, playing Hokko Life really made me appreciate that level of polish and charm that Nintendo brings to their games. Yes, they are really shitty at changing things and inexplicably try to include motion controls in every game, but the things missing from Hokko Life aren't in Animal Crossing as accidental features. It's amazing to me just how much of an incentive it is that I get to go see all my collectibles in a museum run by a neurotic owl. That isn't a feature in Hokko Life, and filling up the journal feels much less rewarding because of it. The version of rewards in this game is in the form of character upgrades. You know how in Animal Crossing you can sprint anywhere, anytime, as much as you want? In Hokko Life, that is a reward for filling out your journal. Go catch 42 bugs named Christopher, and then you can sprint for more than 5 seconds. Very little that this game does, from the general bones of it all to the moment-to-moment of tasks available to you and even how they interact. Well, it's very hard to find anything original. I didn't even have to guess how fishing worked. It's exactly the same as Animal Crossing New Horizon, just with a weird minigame at the end after you catch something. In a lot of ways, this feels like a lesser copy of Animal Crossing, but in all the places where experimentation and originality show up, it's mostly to the detriment of the game. If it sounds like I'm being super critical with this game in comparison to Animal Crossing, well, you're right. The game itself wants to be Animal Crossing, and if it's going to compare itself, well, so will I. The comparison does Hokko Life no favors though, because Hokko Life is trying to be be a game that has a massive team and budget in comparison and has been scientifically engineered to be as endearing and adorable as possible. I mean, fuck, Hokko Life is up against the world's largest Stockholm Syndrome experiment. We've all become inexplicably attached to our Tanuki captor. He is the one who harms, he's the one who holds us hostage, and yet we would die for him. I would die for him. Long live Nook Enterprises. Long live King Nook. I mean, Mayor Nook. That's Hokko Life, though. While I don't like being reductive, I also really can't find much else to say. It's not horrible, but I know that once I finish this video, barring some pretty major overhauls, I don't think I'm going to be going back to it personally. I will say there's a game coming out that I backed on Kickstarter called Puff Pals Island Skies that looks really cute, and it's going to have a beta soon, so maybe check that out. I'm hoping it'll scratch the Animal Crossing itch for me. As far as my general opinion of the game goes, it's worth mentioning that I am extremely impressed by the fact that one developer made all of this game by themselves. And despite having a lot of criticism for it, I really hope that they get funding and a team to work with for some future projects. Just because this one didn't hit right for me doesn't mean the next game won't. It's obviously they have a lot of talent, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on them. Most of the jokes I made in this video are just that, jokes. And while I didn't particularly have fun with this game, it's not like it's going to physically harm you to play it. This very much seems like a case of someone with talent that just spread themselves too thin. I'm curious what you guys think, though. We have a comment section if you have opinions. Were any of my criticisms unfair? Were there any cool features that I missed? I know that because I didn't power advance through time, I didn't get to see the festivals for seasons, so I'm curious what people that play this game think of them. That's all I've got for you, though. Subscribing here on my YouTube channel and following me on Twitch are the best ways to support me, and I also have a Steam Curator page called Not a Real Reviews where I post full-length written reviews of all these games. All of the things I've mentioned in this video are going to be linked down in the description for you. Thank you for watching. I'm Not Absolutely Sure, and this was Not a Real Review.